going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. Mephisto is just the talk of the town lately, with WandaVision and Agatha Harkness, and there's witches and hexes and whatever's going on in Westview right now, whatever's going on down below. So we're back at it again with another part 2 because, well, this guy is literally the devil and he does a lot of bad stuff because he's the devil. I don't think he'll be running out of bad deeds to do anytime soon. I'm your host, Taylor McWaters, and here are the top 10 worst things Mephisto has done, part 2. Let's get it. Kicking off the list at number 10, Thor Down Under. In Thor issue 180, we find the god of thunder gets sentenced down under. Well, I mean, it looks like Loki, but upon arrival to the underworld, Mephisto comes in contact with him, and it is in fact Thor stuck in Loki's body. Classic trickster move right there. And up on the real world, Loki was pretending to be Thor, using his power, of course, for evil. So when Mephisto comes in contact with Loki's shoulder, he feels pain that can only be caused by good. And upon closer look, he realizes it's actually Thor. And then when Sif and the Warriors 3 come to the rescue, they find Thor stuck in a block of ice. All thanks to Mephisto. And it doesn't look too comfortable either. I mean, a simple pair of demon handcuffs would have sufficed, but sure, you do you. And before we continue on to number 9, if you haven't already, can you guys go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, because it really does do wonders for our channel. Thank you so much for the support. Now back to some more devilish deeds. Number 9, Legacy of Doom. Seeing a loved one come back to life has to be pretty frightening of an experience, but when Mephisto is involved, it's just on a whole new level. In Iron Man Legacy of Doom, Dr. Doom travels back in time to trade Iron Man for a fragment of Excalibur. Not a bad deal if you ask me. The trade happened with the number one person to make deals with, Mephisto. Then Mephisto just kicks back and enjoys watching Iron Man try and escape the fiery pits of hell. But he turned it up a notch, of course, when he took on the form of Howard Stark in this demonic giant suit. I like when Tony says, "You're no father of mine," right before, bam, a repulsor blast. That's cool. It's like some cool badass thing to say right before you attack someone. Classic Tony. Number 8, the first Ghost Rider. Long before the ages of Johnny Blaze, Mephisto had actually made the first Ghost Rider after striking up a deal with an early human who had been brutally attacked by a Wendigo. This is back in like caveman days. This dude's picking on everybody. So Mephisto appeared before him in the form of a snake, obviously, and then offered the man strength to avenge his people. All he had to do is guess the serpent's name. And boom, we have a deal. Then years later, that young man returns to get his revenge, but now this time, he looks a little bit different. This time, he's the spirit of vengeance. And his next fight with Wendigo now involved a mammoth spraying fire out of its trunk. So, you win that one. Now, this sounds like a tale of revenge, but Mephisto getting involved meant that this mammoth had to get tossed off of a cliff in the process. And who knows, guys, this could have literally been the last mammoth. I mean, we're not sure. How can we be sure? Number 7, Apocalypse in the Past. In Avengers Volume 8, issue 38, Mephisto goes back in time to get in Apocalypse's ears. He likes to whisper sweet nothings in his ear. Yeah, he approaches him as a centipede, a crow, a snake, I think a flying space shark at one point. And Mephisto convinced Apocalypse that the false gods had mocked him and they needed to perish, which in result sent the Avengers of that era into a heated battle with Apocalypse. This is also the same issue where we see Mephisto stalk a family over years, and then each time he visits, he demands more from them, starting with a finger from each child. He takes fingers now. I mean, we are talking about the devil here. We're not really, this shouldn't be a shock. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a shock. The fingers are a bit messed up. Number 6, the death of Darkoth. In Thor issue 325, titled A Deal with Darkoth, we see Mephisto reach into Darkoth's past and try and find a weak spot in his life. This happens after Mephisto saves his life from an explosion, but the only thing is, saving may not be the best term to use here. See, he actually transported him to hell, and then Mephisto pondered his fate. As if dying wasn't bad enough in an explosion, now you gotta die again, but this time with Mephisto calling the shots. What a nightmare. So he finds his son and makes Darkoth feel horrible for leaving him. So Mephisto offers Desmond Pitt a new life as long as he goes after Thor. Now, Thor is the god of thunder, so he and Mjolnir had no problem handling this foe. But Mephisto sure didn't make it easy. Number 5, give the devil his due. In Mephisto vs. the Fantastic Four, titled Give the Devil His Due, we find the Fantastic Four as they've all ended up in the underworld. And at this point, he's actually pretty upset with Franklin Richards because he hit him previously with a mental blast. So he's got little Franklin there wearing his pajamas in hell, and Mephisto's got his pointy fingers in his face. Poor Franklin. So Susan Storm gets in on the action and actually puts up a pretty good fight, once again getting Reed out of the hole. Classic Susan Storm saving Reed Richards. Mephisto then makes a deal with Sue that if she stays in hell, everybody else, bam, you're good to go, see ya. And then poof, they all end up back home, shook by what just happened, and Mephisto gets to enjoy the company of one Sue Storm. Number 4, Party Crasher. Back in the days, you know, when parties were still a normal thing one could have in life, it was always the worst when somebody unexpected just showed up and kind of killed the mood. You know, you're like, oh, is that Brad from work? You're like, nah, I don't want to talk about anything else, let's get out of here. Now I can't vent, Brad's here. Well, something similar happens in Nightcrawler Volume 3, Issue 12. We see every day of the week in the life of Kurt Wagner, and on Thursday night, he gets called down to the library to go over some reports with Scott. And when he walks through the doors, surprise, it's his birthday and all of his friends are waiting there, and there's cake and it's joyous and it's wonderful. Then, like I said, while they're enjoying the festivities, Kurt follows a voice to a visitor in another room. That visitor being Mephisto's. So he teleports them both outside and he tells Nightcrawler that he'll bring his brother back to life if he joins him in the pits of hell. Nightcrawler declines the offer and heads back up to attempt to enjoy the rest of his birthday. What a buzzkill. Happy birthday. Also, your brother's still dead. See ya. Number 3, Mephisto and Hutch. In X-Men Unlimited issue 37, we find Ilyana Rasputina from an alternate Earth where she now has a son named Hutch. The thing about Hutch was he was born between dimensions, so now every dimension has equal claim on him, since he was technically part of them all. Okay. So Magic then decided to make a deal with Mephisto's, and things, what do you know, they didn't end up going a positive direction. It's almost like he's the devil. The deal he came up with was that Hutch would get a body, but, every mutant in all these dimensions bites the bullet, okay? So, great deal, man, awesome. I get a body, everyone else disappears, sweet. So the deal goes down, but then when Hutch discovers what the cost was, poor guy sacrifices himself and returns to having no body. You couldn't have come up with anything else, Devil Man, really? Number 2, Brass Bishop. A long time ago, Bishop Benedicto de Vica Sabertes, aka Brass Bishop, so you don't butcher the name like I probably just did, he fell in love with a young lady named Beatrice, and he felt like she was too good and God just wouldn't allow it, so he turned to Mephisto's. Okay, went from 0 to 100 really quick. So Mephisto's is like, okay, sell me your soul upon death and then I'll make it so that she's by your side always. Like, you can have this woman, your dream woman there, like that's it. You guys are gonna be together forever. She's gonna be right there with you, man. It's gonna be great. 10 out of 10 deal. Just sign right there. So they made the deal, but now she is a nun. So he felt like in reality, she was actually further away from his grasp than first intended. He's like, no, this is the opposite of love. I can't even get close to this woman. That's honestly a bold move, Mephisto's, okay? I'll give you that. So Brass Bishop then made a suit that was designed so whoever was wearing it was able to keep their soul. So specific. But the suit required the blood of an innocent woman, so he turned to Beatrice to make sure that his soul was safe. What a wild thing. This is all wild. So Mephisto was waiting for his soul, and then he sent out a demon to go looking, but Brass Bishop took off his head, bam, sliced it off. Then he approached Mephisto's and tried to force him to return his soul, and he said yes, but if you replace it with Beatrice, who at this point her soul was now in heaven. And he was like, okay, I don't want to touch that, that's a no deal, that's never gonna happen, I'm out of here. But then he spent the rest of his days long after that trying to build a tower into heaven so that he can get that soul of hers back, yeah. I guess he gets bored after a while, he just changed his mind. Number 1, back from the dead and ready to fly. In Nighthawk issue 1, we find John Doe in a coma in the hospital, but then an angel revived him, and on top of that, Nighthawk now had enhanced vision abilities that allow him to see crimes before they're committed. Score, thank you, Angel, this is the best day ever. Only thing is, that angel was actually the devil, Mephisto. And that gift was actually a terrible new feature, because now Nighthawk was attacking criminals before they even did anything, which made him the only criminal in the room, technically. So Daredevil gets involved, they scrap it out, and Nighthawk ends up taking out Daredevil, and the two of them ended up in the underworld. So now it's a mission to break out of hell. And he's carrying Daredevil's body around literally like a backpack, like Weekend at Bernie's style. He's just wrapped around, flopping around on his back. So luckily he revives him with some well-placed hell flames, and in a last attempt to trick them into staying down there with him, Mephisto's made it look like they were actually in heaven. But luckily Daredevil saw through this and they both returned back to Earth. What a trip. Hey guys, how was your weekend? No, we we don't want to talk about that. Well, guys, there you have it. Comment down below which of these Mephisto deals are your favorite. I mean, to be honest, the image of little Franklin Richards wearing pajamas in hell is just gonna live in my head rent-free for the next few weeks. Thanks for watching Top 10 Nerd, and we'll see you next time. Peace.